I have now discovered the wealth of having a shit box. Took it camping over this weekend and I had some of the best fun I've ever had. The revelation I had is most people that do off-roading will upgrade their car so that when they go off-roading, they don't damage it. Well, if you don't care about your car being damaged, you can do it for really cheap. So, with that being said, I want to kind of give this some capability. I don't want to make it nice, but I want to be able to go out. I need some lights. I need to set up my camping gear, etc. So we're going to make a roof rack. So this roof rack is going to bolt down to the factory roof rack locations that you saw me remove just then. Went to IMS. We got some good old, is that inch by inch and a half, 16 gauge. It's thin wall. It's cheap. It's not going to be the strongest shit in the world, but it'll do it. I have a 54-inch curved light bar that's coming in the mail that we're going to adapt to this as well. And so right now, and honestly the hardest part of the whole thing is just going to be making the brackets to extend from the factory bolt locations to my roof rack. Nothing complicated about this, and you can see it here. They're not in line with the actual roof rack direction. These are, of course, but on each edge, and they're symmetrical by the way, they're off skew and not in line with those two bolts. Well, it's a bit washed out here, but you can see I whipped up these 6mm hole transfer bolts on the lathe really quick. All they really do is just let me take a piece of sheet metal here, that's from dirt biking, and press it down and tap it lightly, and then I got the centers of each bolt, so I don't have to go in with the calipers over the hole and try to, you know, estimate like I've been doing forever. This riv nut had a bolt stuck in it, so I had to replace it with my own. These riv nuts, like the GM factory ones, are pretty cool. Rather than being circular, like to accept from a drill hole, they're actually hexagonal, so they don't spin, which is awesome. But I mean, you can't really use those on the home shop unless you're using some kind of die for a press. But I digress. So back to the steel. We have to make this in such a way that it will span at least 4 feet, which will be no problem. Functional wise, I'd like to make this such that I can go to Home Depot and get like a stock 4 foot by 8 foot piece of plywood, or industrial metal supply or any other metal supplier, and pick up a 4 foot by 8 foot piece of steel. So that's pretty much the only design constraint. Now we just have to go and make our brackets. I conveniently had some 4-inch by 3/16 inch extrusion. That was the perfect size. For the end pieces though, they are exactly 5.447 in width. So obviously that won't do. So I have a section of 12-inch 3/16 inch plate over here. And I got myself a new toy that's going to help me chew through this a lot quicker than I would normally. That first bracket I showed you, one of the corners. So now we have everything in place. They're all of varying random lengths, and they'll be cut down based on the scribe line. So I have 2 levels sitting here, and I actually was standing on the chair right in the hood there, and using my binoculars and comparing the two and leveling it out, while still checking to make sure these are level. So now what you're thinking, I did check the car. The car is level within the amount I can tell. More level than this thing for sure. So with that being said, now what we got to do is we got to take all these brackets off. Everything is scribed and in place. We're going to go ahead and cut these brackets down and get it back on hopefully in time to tack it in before the sun sets. So let's see how well I do. Okay. Took it down to the wire. I didn't really even have time to film. Just about out of daylight now. We got it tacked. Here it is, standing up. Check it out. Woo. All right, so now we're gonna finish up these tacks. And we'll start working with the slats and then the second level. Okay, so we got the main structure tacked together. Now, so these brackets, I have the weld on the inside seam here done. I'm gonna go ahead and tack on or finish the welds here. Now these welds are gonna be the most visible ones out of everyone. So I went ahead and ground down the tacks so I can try to shoot for the best looking weld I can. So yeah, let's get to that now. Well, I guess none of that was on film, so that's cool. I mean, I'm welding 16 gauge to 3/16 inch. So, I mean, I could really use all the help I can get. I'm directing most of the heat towards the 3/16 inch, but I mean, you can only do so much with the torch. So, yeah, let's just keep trying. They're coming out decent. All right, so we got the all the pieces for the second level cut and ready to be tacked. I am so close to being out of gas, so we'll do our best here. Hopefully you guys could get a rough idea of how thin this material I'm working with really is. It is super thin. And that was done for two reasons. One, because it was cheap, and two, it's more of an exercise for me because if I'm working with 1/8 inch wall, I have the leeway to have misalignment and still have good penetration on my welds. With this, everything has to be pretty much lined up and square, so I need to practice. So there you go. So with that being said, you can imagine there's quite a bit of warping. When I was laying in these inner slats, the whole frame was bowed in, like an inch. So I had to use my feet and my arms to spread the frame apart just to fit these bars in. So again, my learning lesson, I could have planned better and laid the slats in first before running full welds. I should have just had this entire frame just tacked, and then I could go ahead and do my thing. So the second part of this series is going to be mocking up all the lights and doing all the wiring. So while this isn't exactly on the scale of the Isuzu, I do want to practice my harness building skills and make everything last and professional as best as I can do it, at least. So as you see behind me, sitting on the windshield there, we got a Rough Country 54-inch curved light bar. Really nice unit, way better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. So that's going to be kind of cantilevered over the front of the rack, right hugging up to the top of the windshield. And then we got two, what the fuck you call those? Flood. We have two floodlights, one on the left, one on the right. They're going to be somewhere on the side of the rack someplace. I'm thinking right at the I guess what would be the B pillar would be nice. So all of that is going to be, all the wires for that, I mean the grounds will go straight to the rack, but the positives are going to be routed underneath with some rubber grommets and actually ran through the frame of the roof rack. So it'll be super professional. Everything will have its own connector so it can all be unbolted. Which brings up another issue. Well, another big issue that we have to tackle with this rack is the security concerns. So, rack itself, not worried about. It's too heavy for anyone to try come and take while it's sitting on the street. That's not even possible, really. So, it's more so the light bar and the floodlights on the side that I'm concerned about. So how can I keep those on the rack without making them easily removable, or at least with minimal tools? So I was thinking, well, maybe if I can kind of sandwich the fasteners underneath the rack where you couldn't get to once it's on the car, that's a possibility. The other one, much more compelling to me, is simply just tack welding the fasteners to the brackets that they're fastened to. So it would be a pain to adjust and to move or remove anything, but that being said, anyone walking around the street would not be able to take this unless they had a cordless grinder or a lot of will and a hacksaw, you know what I mean? So I think that's probably the way we should do it. Alright, well, I'm going solo today, but I need to get this big ass thing up on top of that Tahoe so I can start measuring out the brackets for the light bar. So let's see how this goes. Okay, so if I the rack, make sure I don't hit the damn charger. That was bad. Oh yeah, look at that. Not bad, huh?